Welcome back to the studios here in Tucson, Arizona for the World Players of Handball. My name is Dave Vincent alongside David Fink. Dave, we are going to talk about San Francisco. It's at the end of this week, and we have this great video preview set up for you today where we're going to talk about some of the qualifiers, the women pros, the men's elite, and this new territory that we're breaking into, the Olympic Club in San Francisco.
Yeah, the Olympic Club, Dave, is one of the most prestigious athletic clubs in the country. It's affiliated with the Lake Course Olympic Club Golf Course, which has hosted numerous USGA events, including the 1955 US Open, the 1966 US Open, which is just about 12 miles away across the bay. But next week, or excuse me, at the end of this week, it's going to be the top handball players in the world. The Olympic Club boasts a number of Olympic champions, national tournament teams in a number of different sports, and also the Olympic Club handball ambassador and head handball instructor, Emmett Pashode, who's number 3 on the Race for 8 WPH tour. Emmett will be defending his home turf here, as well as Eric Torres, who serves under Emmett in that capacity, and all the best players in the world will be there.
Okay, they're going to be playing host, so to speak, for this grand event that will be at the Olympic Club. We cannot forget the Del Gran Dealer Group and what they have done to help put on this prestigious tournament at the Olympic Club in downtown San Francisco. We are going to be live, Dave, on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app and all of the devices that you can get that app on. Some people are watching it on their TV. You can download it at watchespn.com, where you could watch live handball on Saturday and Sunday. If you get confused with all of this devices and downloads and app stores and all that stuff, just go to race48.com. Our homepage for the Race for 8 Pro Tour live broadcasts, and you can watch the ESPN app embedded right on that video page. Bet you didn't even know that.
I did, actually.
You did?
I watch handball almost every day, and I know that well.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dave Fink, number 2 ranked pro on the WPH Race for 8 last year, this year, still in the top 8. You're one of the elite players. We're going to talk about those elite guys, but first let's go into some really cool late-breaking news from Katrina Casey from Ireland, our number 1 women's pro. Is coming in, of course, number 1 seed, defending players champion, but she has a really cool announcement to make this year, and I think it should grab some headlines.
Are you going to make it, Dave, or will I?
Katrina Casey is going to play in the men's pro qualifier.
Wow.
She's going to go both ways. She's going to enter, of course, she's the number 1 seed in her division, but she's also going to play in the qualifiers that start Friday morning. These are unfilmed matches, but I think we might get our cameras out for this.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. In 2003, we saw Annika Sorenstam, the number 1 women's golfer in the world, take on the men at the Colonial, one of the PGA Tour events in Texas. She did extremely well there. And talking to Anna Engele, who is an 11-time USHA National Women's Pro Singles champion, she said, I expect Katrina to do extremely well in this event. She's one of the most composed, one of the most intelligent, and one of the best handball players I've ever seen. Katrina herself will say, well, I don't really have any expectations. I've sparred against a number of male pros, but sparring's not the same as real match experience. I expect Katrina to do very well. We both played her a number of times. She's got all the requisite skills you could possibly need to do well in this event. And she says, I'm there. My priority is still the women's event, but I don't start until Saturday. I'd love to get a couple matches under my belt and just see how I do.
We had a chance to talk to Katrina Casey earlier in the year. Let's go to that quick interview with Katrina.
So important to handball in general, but more specifically ladies handball. Bernie, I had the opportunity to play with her in preparation for the last World Championships, which was a very cool thing for me to do. She completely dominated the scene in Ireland for many years, and she really raised the standard, and that probably inspired more players. And Fiona Shannon, the same huge achievement on the international stage, and now there are far more young girls playing than even when I started. So the future definitely looks bright.
Wow, I'm impressed with her. She also told me offline that she was just going to play in this as just a kind of a warm-up match for her real important thing, that is to become the players champion in the women's division, not to read too much into playing in the men's qualifier. She really doesn't think that we should make a big deal about it. She's just really there to see how she can do. But she did say that being in the men's qualifier is part of her overall plan.
Yeah.
And this is something she wants to do maybe in about 2 years from now, where she believes she can work her way into a viable qualifier. And I've played her, you've played her, I think she can do it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason that she wouldn't be able to do it. She's got 2 amazing hands. She's got that court sense that you just can't teach. She seems to just know where the ball is at all times and just sort of floats around the court, always being in the right position. You can't overpower her, and really the only way you can win points against her is to hit flat rollouts, because she's not going to make any errors, and she's going to hit a number of flat rollouts on her own. So she puts the pressure on you to play about as well as you can, very similar to playing Dave Chapman.
Okay, well, we're on the clock, so we have 2 minutes. Let's talk about the women's pros right now. They're headlining this event in the Bay Area. Let's start with Tracy Davis.
Well, you talk about Tracy Davis and Jessica Gall, you have to kind of talk about them both together because they're supremely fit athletes. They're both mothers in their late 30s. They're both in the top 3 on the Women's Race for 8 Tour, and just incredible athletes. I mean, they're so fit. Jessica Gall took about 4 years off. She had shoulder surgery, also had 2 kids. She's come all the way back to number 2 after finishing 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in her 4 Women's Race for 8 starts. Tracy Davis has always been in that top 5, top 6 area. In fact, she moved to Tucson in 2009 to refine her 4-wall game. She's already dominated the 1-wall game throughout the 2000s. She still does dominate 1-wall. She still does dominate 3-wall, and she's just missing that one piece of the puzzle, which is a major 4-wall title, and that's what she's aiming for this season.
Yeah, she's going to go for that here in San Francisco, and I look for her to do some amazing things there. Actually, Jessica and Tracy both are gearing up. Jessica is trending. I mean, her ranking went from about 8 all the way up to number 2. Yeah. She does get the number 2 seed here in San Francisco. Okay, right around the corner we have Danielle Daskalakis, Sandy Ng, and Courtney Pachot, all still in their 20s, all with amazing potential, and 3 of the most talented young ladies that we have seen on the Pro Tour. And let's talk about them.
Well, you'd say all 3 have that it factor. They all have that incredible ability to just seemingly do whatever they want on the court. Danielle's got that stiletto for a left hand. She can end rallies from anywhere on the court, 39 feet. Even with her right hand, which is more of an outdoor right hand, she has that stiff arm kill shot up in the front right corner. Tremendous shot. Sandy Ng, one of the best athletes I've ever seen in my life. She's got the dexterity, she's got the agility, and just that effortless power from both hands from Sandy Ng. Courtney Pachot is one of the most exciting players to watch. She's got her own style. She's kind of got that crazy swing that we've talked about, but I feel like Courtney hops the ball better than any woman I've ever seen in history. She can actually reverse the ball a couple of feet, particularly on her serve, and it's always great to see Courtney back in the mix. Courtney was the person we thought was going to be the next number 1. She also started a family. She was married a couple years ago. She's got a young son, but it's great to see her back, and she'll be on her home turf at the Olympic Club, who has sponsored her for the last 15 years.
Very much like some of these other players, well, in particular, Katrina Casey crossing over to play into the qualifier is Yvonne August coming back for the first time in about 10 years. She won the 2004 National Handball Championships. She's coming back, and she has sort of the same mentality that Katrina has when Katrina's going into the pros, and that is, I'm just going to see what I can do and just kind of gauge myself. I'm not going to get overly aggressive here and try to kill myself. I'm going to kind of see where I'm at with today's young ladies, and hopefully I get the bug and continue to tour on.
Well, that always sounds good off the court. I'm just going there to have fun and have no expectations. When you get on the court, you're a competitor, particularly someone like Yvonne, who's won national championships. I can assure you, when she's on that court and the door closes, she's going to want to win, and I'm excited to see her play. Yvonne defeated Courtney Pachot, who's another one of our players coming back in the finals of that national championship that you alluded to. Yvonne lives in Fresno, where there's a lot of handball, Dave. I mean, her whole family plays. Yeah. All of her cousins, and so I'm sure that she's been on the court. She's very fit, and I'm like you, Dave. I'm looking forward to watching her.
Yeah, talking to Jessica Gall as well as Anna Engele, not to make this all about Anna, but she told me too that both of those women athletes told me that Yvonne August was the most competitive female athlete they've ever played against. So that's going to be very intriguing. Let's talk about the qualifiers and then go into the Elite 8 guys. The qualifiers, once again, stacked. Every stop that we do have some of the best players in the world touring. A very late entry from Vic Perez. Of course, we talked about Katrina Casey entering the men's pros. Vic Perez coming into that just a couple days ago has really made this interesting.
Well, I think you'd have to say Vic Perez has the most quality wins of anyone in the qualifier draw. You talk about Vic Perez, he's beat former WPH number 1 Charlie Shanks, current number 3 Emmett Pachot, current number 4 Mondo Ortiz, former 3-time Elite 8 Andy Nett. This guy can play big matches. He can take down the big dogs, and he's not afraid of any situation. You saw what he did to Mondo Ortiz in Tucson. Mondo was a huge favorite there. And Vic Perez battles back from match point down in the second game, 12-14, forces overtime, then comes back from 8-2 down in the tiebreaker to score the last 13 points. He's a wild card. He's a guy that can really upset anyone in the draw. I expect him to qualify, and who knows from there what
But
he
is
can do.
there really any better qualifier than Martin Mulkerins, who is the former national finalist?
Well, the first time I saw Martin, and you probably felt the same way, I think we both said to ourselves,
I was in awe. Yeah.
this guy is the next number one. I mean, I don't know what's stopping him. You know, Martin's currently ranked number 5 in Ireland, which is respectable, but I don't know how he loses. I don't know how he loses in Ireland. I don't know how he loses here. You watch him play Luis Moreno, and it's like they're identical. And Luis has been number 1 for the better part of 3 years. Martin has everything you need. He's got the strength, the speed, the power, and he's also got a great head for the game. I think it's only a matter of time before Martin breaks through.
Well, he's got the likability factor too. He's an instant success when he goes on the tour. Fans love him, and they're going to love him in San Francisco. The Cordova brothers, one of them, Cinderella story of Houston, made it all the way to number 5 after qualifying for the very first time. And then we have Luis Cordova, who's a former Elite 8. I'd love to see those guys play each other in a heated battle, but they're not going to. They're going to both probably qualify here in San Francisco, and then they could be a wrecking ball back into that Elite 16.
Well, I've been waiting for Luis Cordova to break through for a number of years. He was our youngest ever Race for 8 Elite 8 invite at a Players Championship 1 in 2012. He's never made the semifinals of a race event, but I think this could be his time. He's got everything he needs. Luis now living in Pensacola, maybe not able to play as much handball as he would like, but on the contrary, Daniel Cordova, his brother, plays probably more handball than anybody on the earth. Plays every day at Lake Forest College, and you can see the results. Daniel had an amazing event there in Houston, took out Abe Montillo in the first round, and ended up taking 5th place there. Actually looked pretty good against Paul Brady, also in that round of 8 match. Daniel Cordova is definitely trending right now. He's got a great game, he's got a great style, and 2 really beautiful, aesthetically beautiful handball swings with both hands.
All right, so we talked about those guys, but our number 1 seed in the qualifier is a guy that was a former top 8 invite, Abraham Montillo, and then Anthony Celesto, also a top 8 invite as well. We haven't talked about those guys yet.
Well, both those guys are the kind of guys you know you're in for a long match, a very hard match when you play either of those guys, because they both are going to track down everything. They're going to make you beat them because they're not going to go in there and make errors. They've got a great system where they keep the ball in play. They can kill the ball, both underrated serves, and both guys have taken out some very good players. Celesto last year took out Chapman, Lenning, and myself, Abraham Montillo, into the round of 8 in 2 of his 3 starts dating back to the end of last season and early into this season. Abraham, in fact, I think his biggest win was against Marcos Chavez on his home court in Tucson. So both these guys capable of doing a lot of damage.
You can watch the main draw and the women's bracket as well on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app starting on Friday, racefor8.com. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it will be on ESPN. 2 guys that we haven't talked about, and I'll wrap it up here briefly on the qualifiers. Since we're talking about older players coming back and trying it for the first time, Chris Tico, who's 45 years old, could be a viable source there as he makes his home in Berkeley, but also plays at the Olympic Club and other clubs around the Bay Area. Then we have the Collado brothers from that area as well, and it's about time that they start thinking about qualifying. Anthony Sullivan, who is that young 16-year-old who's a phenom as well. And then Ryan Bowler coming in from Canada, making the trek across the border. What do you have to say about these guys? And I'm sure I'm missing somebody, because that is really one heck of a draw that we have.
Well, let's first talk about Stephen Cooney, who's having an amazing year.
I knew I forgot probably the most talented
Stephen Cooney
guy.
risen all the way to number 10 on the power rankings this year, and he's only played in 3 events. He came in with no ranking. He's number 6 on the point standings, which means he's projected to finish in the Elite 8, which is the greatest accomplishment, I believe, for any handball player in the world as they seek that Elite 8 status. And he's done it with his playoff success. 7-1 record in the playoffs. He finished 9th twice, which means he had to win 3 matches in the playoffs twice to win those. And then almost took 5th in Tucson. He lost 26-24. This is a guy who's a great player, very steady. He's got all the shots. He's got the speed. He's got the right head for it. You talk about the local talent, though, Dave. The Collados, Chris Tico. These guys are excellent ball players. Anthony Sullivan, another guy who we saw in Tucson at the Junior Nationals, also coming on. I am excited to watch Chris Tico, Dave. He's kind of a contemporary of mine back from the old days on the Pro Tour in the late 1990s. Chris and I matched up, and I know that Chris is going to be prepared if he's entered this event, because he's not going to just enter just to hit the ball around. I know that he's probably been preparing himself well for this event, and I'm looking forward to watching him. Ryan Bowler is a guy that we haven't seen a lot on the Race for 8 qualifiers. He's traveled to my region quite a bit when I lived in the Northeast. Ryan Bowler is a scrappy player. Ryan Bowler is the kind of guy that is going to make you uncomfortable, and he's going to make you really play and dig deep to beat him.
Okay, we have 8 brackets of 4 qualifiers. Each bracket will bring 1 qualifier that'll get plugged in on a blind draw on Friday afternoon into the top 16, where we already have 8 named players. one of those guys, Paul Brady, #1 player in the world. He is in the name date. He could be pulling any one of those qualifiers that we just mentioned, plus others that we haven't. Talk about Paul really briefly. We're on the clock, 2 minutes.
Well, I'm just going to give you a couple stats. Paul, 28-1 career in the race. That means in 8 events, he's won 7 of them. His only loss to Mondo Ortiz in the first round of Salt Lake City just a few months ago. Paul Brady, also the 4-time defending world champion. He's going for Nadia Alvarado Sr.'s record of USAJ national championships. Is there any more that we can say? He's been an unstoppable force this season. It just seems like every tournament, he's blowing away people even easier. I mean, guys are having a hard time even getting into double figures against him. I don't know that I see that changing in this event, but there are 7 other guys that I think could possibly unseat Paul Brady.
Well, one of those, obviously, Luis Moreno, but let's skip him for just a brief second. He gets a lot of press as it is. Let's go right to Emmett Peixoto. This is his home club. He has a lot of pressure from the fans, but he also has a lot of that pressure relieved because he lives across the street and he gets to walk over. He's on his own schedule. So I think there's a lot to say about that when you're at home. But there's a lot to say about having that extra pressure too. Can you rise above and use it against, or does it go against you?
I don't think it bothers them, and he's hosted pro stops at his Watsonville YMCA years ago, which was right down the street. He did well in those. I don't think that bothers him all. In fact, I think he'll be spurred on to play even better. But right now, arguably, Emmett Peixoto's the top American player. He's not the top-ranked American player, but if you look at Emmett over the last 6 months, he's defeated Luis Moreno, he's defeated Sean Lenning, he's #3. He seems like every tournament he's either in the semifinals or finals, and because he is, and he seems to be giving Paul Brady the toughest challenge right now. You saw that in the second game in Houston. Even Paul in the post-match interview said, you know, Emmett almost had me in that second game. He could have gone to a tiebreaker, and who knows what happens there. He seems to be the only guy right now who's not psyched out by Paul Brady, and that makes a big difference.
He's also sponsored by the Olympic Club. I would definitely say, Dave, right now, Emmett Peixoto is trending.
You know, it's motivating me for all the other events, and I know that I'm right there. You know, I just have to stay focused, and I can't let my head get to me. And I have to be smart with my timeouts and with my decisions in the court. And I have to know I can put the ball away. I have to re-kill my gets. And I think that Idaho showed me that if I do those things, I'll win.
Well, as you can see, he's definitely focused. And, you know, we've been able to sit down and talk to these players throughout the year. And it's nice to catch Emmett because he's grown up and you can see it that, you know, he's focused on handball. Luis Moreno, the #2 seed, once again at this stop. He's got 2 incredible hands left and right. He seems to be one of these kind of enigma type guys that Sean Lenning used to be, where he's now become the sort of like dark figure where you don't see him down at the club playing, but you see him showing up at tournaments, making it to the finals, and it doesn't seem like he's putting in the time as the practice time, but then when you see him play, it appears that he is. So do you know any inside scoop of what's going on with Luis Moreno?
No, I don't.
You don't, so
no.
He is an enigma.
But
okay.
I will say that Luis Moreno is the least talked about 9-time race winner of all time. I mean, he has the most race wins ever. He's ranked #2 right now. He was ranked #1 just a couple of weeks ago. It seems like Luis, whatever he does, it doesn't seem to matter. He shows up at these events and he's either in the finals or semifinals. Last tournament was shocking. He was blown out by Sean Lenning, who he hadn't lost to ever in race play. In fact, they just played in a secret tournament last weekend and Sean Lenning blew him out again. So 2 consecutive blowout losses to Sean Lenning. Surprising. I think that'll fuel Luis Moreno. I think we'll see a very good version of Luis Moreno in San Francisco.
Well, let's just talk about Sean Lenning really quick then. He, you know, he was an enigma, but I believe he's starting to break through that. You said you saw him at the club earlier in the week, and he looked like he was in amazing shape, and you said to yourself,
I don't know how anyone can ever beat this guy. I mean, just looking at him, he has this healthy glow and mantra about him now. He's so fit. He's dedicated himself basically 24 hours a day to becoming a better handball player, but also a healthier person. He's vegan. He's only doing things that are good for him, and you can just see it in his face. I mean, this guy has that glow about him, Dave. Not the kind of glow of someone that sits behind a desk all day. Sean Lenning is the freak, Dave. I mean, the shots that this guy can hit are just unbelievable. You think to yourself, how can anyone do it? He does it consistently. I think if Sean Lenning's fresh, he's the guy to beat Paul Brady.
Well, we saw Sean at the Plummer Hell of a Handball Bash to start off the race season, and he defeated Luis Moreno there. So there was something to start the season to kind of, send a little message. We were able to talk to Sean at that tournament. This is what Sean had to say.
Like, if I'm not in the right mind state, I can't trick myself into being in that mind state. If I'm not feeling up for a game, I can't make myself up for that game. And so I just need to figure out how to get over it and just always be motivated to kick ass, you know? It's like sometimes I don't feel like I care. So I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm gonna really try and, I don't know, I just need to get up.
Well, I mean, he recognizes what his strong points are and the things he needs to work on. Sean Linning definitely improving in this race season, and I'm actually very happy to see this.
Yeah.
I know you are too.
Yeah.
You're a competitor and a player in this event, and you know, hats off to you, because I know it's very difficult. Sometimes you don't want the good players to play, but you pros say, bring it on. I want to beat the best players there are to win these titles,
Yeah.
and you respect Sean Linning for those purposes. Same thing with Mondo Ortiz. You respect him as well. And though you might even face him in this tournament, talk about some of what he can do on the court.
Well, Mondo Ortiz is the most explosive offensive player in the last 10 or 15 years in the sport of handball. This is a guy that can flat roll the ball from anywhere on the court. I can remember talking to Dave Chapman a few years ago when Chapman was #1, sparring with Mondo in practice when they both lived in Missouri. He said, I've never seen anybody that can actually flat roll the ball from anywhere on the court with either hand, and he does it 100 miles per hour. Now, for Chapman to say something like that, you know it's the real thing. Mondo Ortiz hasn't been that focused this season early. Through the first 3 events, he's had a disappointing start. He still is ranked #4, though, and he's the kind of guy that could break out at any moment.
It's almost like he came out of the womb and his first thought was serve, shoot. Well, this is in his own words.
My style is just either shoot to kill, you know, first stretch, you know, just you serve and kill, and it's always been like that since I was a kid, and I'm gonna stick to that.
Well, like I said, that's one focused guy, a dude that wants to hit the ball low, very much like a Vince Munoz.
Yeah.
Now, remaining into this top 8, some of the most talented guys that we have, an older 40-year-old Marco Chavez, who is currently ranked #1 in the senior race, took the invite because he has the points.
Yeah.
He'll be there in San Francisco. Dave, you will be there. And then we're missing John Iglesias, who's just wickedly dangerous, beat Luis Moreno last year in New York.
And Sean Lenning.
Right.
John Iglesias has that incredible hybrid style. He developed his style playing one-wall big ball as a 10-year-old. He said, I used to just play for hours, 10, 12 hours a day when I first started learning. So he has that, but he also can adjust and play the 4-wall style, ground and pound, go to the ceiling. He's really got it all, and he makes life very difficult for any opponent because it's very hard to get him out of that front court. Jonathan Iglesias is thrilled to earn his first ever Elite 8 invite. He's been knocking on the door for a couple years now, hasn't quite been able to get it, but he did get it here in this event by virtue of being tied with Abraham Montijo and having the tiebreaker win over him from the US Open. It was so close between the guys. If you tallied up the points, it was really probably 1 or 2 kill shots that went either way for both guys that got Jonathan Iglesias into the draw. But I know Jonathan's thrilled. You talked about Marcos, Dave, a very dangerous player. You saw that when Marcos is at his best, he really took apart Emmett Pachot in that second game. Emmett had no answers for him. Now, whether Marcos was tired in the third game or Emmett stepped it up, we don't really know. But we know that when Marcos is at his very best, he can really push anybody in this draw.
Now, and I've played against you. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but you know I've played all of the top players, and I just firmly believe that you're the hardest player I've ever played. Not saying that to patronize you because you're standing in front of me. I will patronize you behind your back.
Okay.
Which is an art form. You might want to try that. Very hard to do. But you you are a first striker after a really good setup on the serve. I know that's what you look to do. Your left corner kill is great, but you have an amazing right-handed fly kill right corner. You're a lefty, and it's had to have been something that you worked on when you were growing up and starting to play handball. What made that right-hand fly kill so special for you?
Well, I think because I serve predominantly down the left, that the next shot comes to my right hand because the next shot generally goes cross court to my right, so I needed that shot to be able to end the rally as quickly as I could into that right corner because you've got your opponent pinned in that back left corner. So you shoot the next shot either straight down the right or into that right corner depending on what your opponent's anticipating. So that's a big shot for me. Thank you for recognizing it.
Well, I recognized it. I am not happy when I play you.
Yeah.
So not like I'm happy any of the other times, but I think you have a really good chance here. Your draws haven't been released yet, and I know that we're trying to keep it secret from you so you can't see them. I know they're on the wall right now.
Yeah.
But, good luck in the tournament in San Francisco. I know it's going to be a fun one, as we've been looking forward to this over Valentine's weekend here at the end of the week, as we just ran down the women, the qualifiers, the elite guys, and then there's a junior clinic that will be set up with junior WPH on Saturday. They said they could have anywhere between 5 and 50 kids show up. You just never know what's going to happen, so get ready for that.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Jonathan Iglesias actually will be coaching that clinic.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get more information at juniorhandball.org. That's juniorhandball.org. And then, of course, watch us and get all of the streaming live details about ESPN and the Watch ESPN app at race, the number 4, the word 8.com, race48.com, as we are on ESPN the whole season, giving you live coverage of this amazing handball pro tour, over $200,000 along with Edel Handball. This Del Grand Dealer Group, WPH Race for 8 stop along with Edel and the Olympic Club in San Francisco, February 13th through the 15th. This has been the video preview alongside David Fink. We hope to see you, and we hope that you see us as we will be broadcasting live this weekend.